Welcome to this special edition of Christian Connections. Welcome to December and a special series of programs all the month to rein in the season. The official title is The Greatest Story Ever Told. Going to be 4 parts to this story. Over the next 4 weeks, we'll hear some special testimonies from some special people. And we're also going to hear during those 4 weeks stories about dreams. You know, Bible talks about dreams, and you'll be interested in all of it. And during the series, we'll have some special invited guests to present some special Christmas messages. Beside me is one of those guests. His name is Miguel Mendez from the Loma Linda University Church. Welcome, Miguel.
It's always good to be here, Marlon.
Now, the theme for the presentation is the heavenly plan of salvation, but your particular offering, what are you going to call it?
We're talking about the promise. So usually we start our Christmas and Advent season talking about what happens in the manger. Today we talk about what happens before we have the manger scene, the long list of promises that God gives his people of a Redeemer.
I'll look forward to that in just a few minutes. Today, we're going to have a special testimony presentation from your friend and mine, Daryl Mundell. Daryl, welcome to this story, the greatest story ever told.
Yeah, the greatest story ever told. And, you know, each of us has a story that's a part of that story and that comes out of that story. And so today I'm going to be talking a little bit about mine.
We're going to be looking forward to that. After I introduce our two remaining panelists, hi, Sheila Hodgkin, board member here at the Loma Linda Broadcasting Network, volunteer, just like our CEO and President Ganem Hanna. Welcome to this special holiday edition of Christian Connections. You're going to be telling us about some facts and figures. Maybe you'd like to be interested to know where that money goes that you have contributed all year long, and some great music as well. In fact, we're going to get to the music right after your testimony, Daryl.
All right.
What do you have to testify about?
Well, I'm going to go back a few years. Actually, quite a number of years now. And to a time that was a very dark time for me, at least. Ganem met me back, when was that? 2005, probably.
Just about.
And I am pretty sure that you saw a broken person at that time.
Very obvious, Daryl.
Mm-hmm. And coming from a situation that I was pretty much in my darkest hour at that time, and I didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. It was just darkness. And I ended up at LLBN. And there was a lot of mistrust, a lot of bitterness in me, in my heart at that time. And I looked at people representing Christ with a lot of suspicion. I had, during my life, I had seen a lot that brought up a lot of suspicion in me of people. And so that's how it started here at LLBN. But as a small family, which is what this group was, there it created a little space for me where I started to feel comfortable, a little bit more comfortable. And I didn't think at the time that there would be anything that could or would be said on air or off air that would change my mind from the position of looking at Christianity in general, looking at God as either fake or something just very unpleasant. And as the years went by here, the people who I worked with, you know, some of the people here on the set here today, and others who aren't here with us, but the people around me quietly portrayed something that I knew was missing. And I slowly took that to heart and listened, because since I've been here, I've directed, I don't know, hundreds, if not thousands of hours of shows, programs, and got to listen to a lot of messages that hit me where I needed to be hit. You know, you've probably heard the song "Go Light Your World," and it starts off with, in every, there's a candle in every soul, some brightly burning, some dark and cold. And I was at a dark and cold point there, but through what I heard, through the spirit that there was here, that was going out over the air, that was among the people here, that fire got lit. And, you know, once that fire is lit, you can't keep it to yourself. You have to go out and share it to other dark souls, people whose candles are not lit. And something happened that I never thought would happen. And that was getting to the point where I developed a passion to share this light that I had not believed, that I held in suspicion, and now that was a part of me. And we all have our different stories, our different reasons for doing what we do. But I saw this, and it was not just the testimony of what happened to me. I saw this in other people. I saw this in my mom. She had come from a position of loving God, but being scared of God, of looking at every day at what have I done today to offend God. And she started watching LLBN when I got here, listening to Randy Roberts' sermons, listening to the other shows on this network, and I saw a very positive change in her, which affected me as well. And so basically, when it comes down to it, my testimony today is of what has transpired in my life and in my heart since I arrived here in Loma Linda and at LLBN. And, you know, everybody, again, has their testimony. Everybody has what has happened to them in their lives. And I'm talking not just on this set here, everybody who I'm talking to through this camera here. And, you know, that song that I mentioned a bit ago, Go Light Your World. It says, so carry your candle, run to the darkness. If you don't go to the darkness, you're not going to light it up. And here at LLBN, you know, we're a family. And we're not just a family in this building or in Loma Linda. This is a global, worldwide family. And every candle out there, every one of you who has joined your candle to this family has created this fire, this blazing fire that's lighting up the sky, that's reaching the world with the light of the glory of God. And, you know, for everyone who has not joined your candle to this, I'm asking you today to join your candle with this family. Expand that light. Reach out to the darkness. We're reaching out into every corner of this world, looking for souls who are like mine was, to bring this light to them. And as somebody who's been blessed by this, I'm asking you to join us today. Pick up your phone, go on the internet, get out your checkbook and write a check. Join that light with us today and expand this blessing that LLBN is, that's been to me, that was to my mother, that's been to so many people who I know, and become a part of this movement around the world.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you for your passion for this ministry, your transformation. I mean, everybody that knows you has seen it, and it makes us, you know, feel. Well, how does it make us feel, Ganem, to see the growth in Daryl through this ministry?
It drew me closer to God because only God can change the hearts and the minds of people. And it puts an awesome obligation or expectation on all Christians to demonstrate God, love in the way He loves us, and not to break others and not to destroy others in the name of God, but rather lift up people through the name of God. And unfortunately, society tends to get rough and harsh on people, suppress people, and we don't realize we're suppressing people and having them slip out of our hands and leave the church or leave our communities. I mean, I've had those experiences with others where not a church that I know of here, but it happened in other places. So I guess we all have the obligation as Christians to really, truly live up to God's standards, to His love, to His kindness, to His gentleness. And Jesus says, He claims He has a gentle heart. Is a gentle, I'm sorry, I'm trying to paraphrase, it escapes my mind at the moment, but He does talk about having a gentle spirit, rather. So we need to be of that gentle spirit.
Well, coming up, we're going to have some great music, but before we go to that music, I want to get your perspective as the member of the LLBN family located on campus.
Yeah, it's just incredible how many people are benefited and are blessed by the content that is produced here. And the fact, what really boggles your mind is you can be anywhere in the world, at any time in the world, across cultures, across time zones, across ideologies, across religious barriers, and you see a family that grew out of this desire to simply start lighting people for the gospel. And I think that is to think about how this story commenced and where it is, that ought to make us really excited, because who knows where we'll be if we're not in heaven in the next 20 years. I'm just really, really excited to see what God is going to do and how many more stories he's going to shift and change.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have a new story every week by one of the volunteers at LLBN to give you kind of a better picture of what goes on here. Coming up, Ganem Hanna has a special presentation. And then, of course, before Ganem is going to be you, Pastor Miguel, with his great message that will really pique your mind into think of things that you just didn't even know that it existed. Thanks for being with us.
We're happy to do that.
Now it's time for music, and here is Sheila to introduce the special music for tonight. Sheila.
Well, I'm really excited to introduce Raylan Bobb. She's been here before, and she sang for one of our Christian Connection specials, but I'm so excited she hasn't been here soon enough, and she's going to be singing Mary, Did You Know?
Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would save our sons and daughters? Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you new? This child that you've delivered will soon deliver you. Mary, did you know that your baby boy would give sight to a blind man? Mary, did you know that your baby boy will calm the storm with his hands? Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels trod? When you've kissed your little baby, you've kissed the face of God. Mary, did you know? Mary, did you know? The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again. The lame will leap, the dumb will speak, the praises of the Lamb. Mary, did you know that your baby boy is Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day rule the nations? Did you know that your baby boy was heaven's perfect lamb? That sleeping child you're holding is the great I
Oh, Raylan Bob, boy, she just really brings the spirit of the greatest story ever told, brings it to you through Loma Linda Broadcasting Network. And right now, are you ready, Pastor Miguel?
Let me get over there.
Okay. While he's over there, let me just introduce him. He's Associate Pastor at the Loma Linda University Church on the campus of Loma Linda University here in Southern California. And his special message, The Promise, on LLBN.
Don't you love the Christmas season? The ribbons and the wrappings, the warm chocolate and the cinnamon spice. And then somewhere right after Thanksgiving rolls around, advertisements and catalogs, children opening them, thumbing nervously, marker in hand, picking out the things that they want, treasures that promise to make their lives complete. Their story's full. If you want to pause for a moment and step into those shoes, I want you to consider the most amazing Christmas present you've ever received. Perhaps it was that dollhouse that you pined for, or that ball that would propel you to new heights of athletic excellence. Maybe it was an easy bake oven or that gaming console that you've wanted for so long. As I think about the history of my Christmases, one present stands head and shoulders above any other. For from the moment I can remember, I wanted an electric car. Not a remote control car that you could buzz around the house. No, a car that I could sit in. Ignition turned, accelerator floored, hair breezing through my head. I would be the picture of coolness. Every time we would go to the store, I would linger just for a moment. I would look at the line of those shiny, beautiful machines and beg. I would beg my parents. For I believed, dare I say, I knew that if I would get this electric car, the problems in my life will be fixed. And then Christmas would come. And year after year, I would dash down, position myself in the Christmas tree, and start unwrapping the myriad of presents that I was gifted, only to be disappointed. For never did I find the beautiful electric car that my soul yearned for. What do we do with disappointment? How do we deal with these promises that are unfulfilled? Perhaps as you are watching us and as you see your neighborhood come alive with carols and home-cooked meals, the empty space in your heart only deepens. For this will be another Christmas that you spend alone. What do we do with the promises that remain unmet? Come with me in your mind's eye, won't you? To a windy and barren place. Dusty. Whirlwinds begin to move. And the arena is still. Until you notice that there is something strange. You can almost breathe it. You can almost touch it. Fear is in the air. The fear of conflict. The fear of defeat. The fear of promises unkept and dreams unmet. For you see, God had long ago promised that as long as a descendant of David would be on the throne, Jerusalem would be safe. Wasn't it that God that moved mount and sea in order to provide his people with a place to be? Wasn't it that God that established a shepherd boy and made him king? Wasn't it that God that helped him slay giants and compose psalms? But as we, in our mind's eye, position ourselves in the story is no longer about triumph, about beautiful songs of ascent into Jerusalem, about people that say, "Who will come up unto the Most High?" No fear has gripped the air. Judea is threatened on every side by its enemies. The once proud kingdom now has become a vassal state. Syria and their brethren from Israel colluding together in order to remove the descendant of David and place one of their own on the throne. The people quake and tremble, thinking of the future. And their hearts are hollow, not just because of the fear, but because of the pain that perhaps you are well aware of, the pain of promises unmet. I'll always be with you, honey, only to encounter this Christmas an empty seat at the table. Mom, I'll always be there with you, only to have division and differences drive a wedge in your family. Come unto me, all those who are heavy laden, and I shall give you rest, only to feel exhausted by the whole hustle and bustle of the holidays. Perhaps the fear that we face isn't of armies encroaching onto our land, but it's about feelings and emotions that are encroaching, stealing away what hope we have. God speaks into those spaces and gives Isaiah a promise, a gift, if you will. You know it well. It's found in the 7th chapter of his missive. And the 14th verse recounts with precise accuracy the story of the season. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son and will call him Emmanuel. Did you catch that? The promise of liberation for the Jews doesn't come in an allied army erupting onto the scene, freeing Israel and returning Jerusalem to its former greatness. The promise of security doesn't come by more gold in the king's treasury or by a turn of heart of a king that has long ago forgotten the promises that David made to God. In much the same way, I would like to propose to you today that the promise that comes to us, even amidst this season, perhaps doesn't come in the ways and the places that we expect. For some of us, the day will come and go, and we will face a new year with the same divisions, the same differences, the same loneliness that grabs our heart yet now. Because when it comes to God, the promises come in the most unexpected ways. And the virgin shall give birth to a child. Now, we're in the center of a healthcare community, and I am not a physician, but I know that it is biologically and physiologically impossible for a virgin to conceive. It is through the miracle of the extraordinary disguised under the guise of the most ordinary event of them all, a mother giving birth, that God reveals himself. It is in a baby that God will make manifest his promise, and his promise isn't deliverance in the way that Israel expects deliverance. His promise is contained in a very name. A name that serves as both meter and metric structure, as rhyme and rhythm of the belief system that still now we can grab onto in our moments of doubt. Emmanuel. Emmanuel, which means God with us. Now perhaps we've spent too many days, too many Christmases reciting the story, huddled around, slippers on our feet, warm pajamas, conversing, reading the story as it is found in Luke, or recounting the genealogy as Matthew pens it. Perhaps we have become so accustomed to the story that we have forgotten how extraordinary it is. God is with us. The same God that spoke the world into existence. Those hands that crafted human beings out of dust and separated seas from land. Those same hands that set the stars up on the sky and the sun and the moon to give light by day and by night now belong to a babe in a manger. God's promises are revealed in unexpected ways. But for those of us who sometimes have problems discerning where God would have us move, the reality is that this season invites us to consider the possibility that those extraordinary events, namely a virgin giving birth to a God that is with us, come in the most mundane of ways. Strangely enough, I never did get that electric car. But something interesting happened. It was a Christmas, and I was about to go to college. I had long ago forgotten the dreams of a boy that desired, amidst all of his toys and paraphernalia, to have a car so he could push down the accelerator, turn on the ignition, and feel the wind on his hair. Long ago had I forgotten that desire. And so I came down to celebrate the last Christmas that I would spend at home. I tiptoed around, opened the presents. All the usual suspects were there. Slippers, socks, a couple books. And after the gift giving had ended, my father pointed me to a small box nestled at the bottom of the tree. I tore it open and found a card. And the card read, "Son, this is for all the Christmases that you were disappointed." I pulled out the card, and a shiny key fell to the floor. I picked up the key and was led by the hand by my parents to our driveway. And there in the driveway, I found my very own car. No longer electric, no longer propelled by a pedal, by the power that had to be recharged on a battery mount day after day. No, this was a real vehicle, one in which I could start writing new stories and new adventures. So here's the promise that I want you to consider as we spend our time reflecting on Emmanuel. The fulfillments that God offers, the promises that God delivers upon, always surpass our wildest expectations. Won't you pray with me? And so we come to this season, Lord, to celebrate the grandest mystery of them all. You are made human. And in that experience, we are made whole. So we thank you for the promise of salvation, not from encroaching armies, but from the pang of loneliness that prevents us from experiencing joy. Thank you for the Advent season, and continue to move with us is our prayer. Amen.
The promise with Pastor Miguel Mendez. Thank you for your message. Sheila, what was your takeaway from the promise?
You know, I think what he said in the very end, which is the promise exceeds our wildest expectations. And I think in our daily walk with Christ, we think he's supposed to answer a certain way. And we have to understand, by faith, we understand that God's ways are much higher than our ways. And the way he came about to come humbly through a Virgin Mary, in a manger, that is as humble as you can be.
Daryl, let me ask you, this is the holiday season. Mm-hmm. What should the promise mean to us?
The entire world of people, the billions of people who were to come after Adam and Eve, were all lost. Everyone. You, me, our parents, our children, everyone was lost until that promise came. And for several thousand years, that promise held until it was fulfilled in that manger in Bethlehem, where God came down to earth to be one of us. So that promise is the foundation of our salvation.
Wow, what a great transition. Everybody wonders, whatever organization that you donate to, where does my money go? I should have said, where does the Lord's money go? Mm-hmm. That's right, you're giving it to the Lord. Well, let's find out. Ganem is on the center stage. What's some answers for you, Ganem?
Thank you, Marlon. In this season of Christmas, the greatest story ever told brings to mind when the wise men took the gifts over to Jesus and put them by the manger. And they were very expensive gifts, and they were used and sold by Joseph and Mary to help raise Jesus for a period. We don't know how much money that created, but we know it had value, and I'm sure it had to be sold and used for a good purpose. And here at LLBN, your gifts for Jesus seems to continue blessing this ministry. 28 years of broadcasting. We were birthed at University Church, as we've been talking about for the last 6 weeks, with the elder Bill Lovelace supporting us and the church and their board. And then we started from this classroom with 3 people and grew from 3 to 5 to 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50. And now it's been in the hundreds since. And at the same time, while the volunteers continue to do the work, your gifts, like the wise men's, continue to nurture this ministry of LLBN. As we left the church to move into this new facility we acquired 20-some years ago, it was just a small barn, dirt on the inside and dirt on the outside. And because of your partnership, we end up having this building that we started building in 2021, right at the beginning of COVID, where the highways were empty during the time and emptier at night, and the stores were out of merchandise. And we started in the most awkward time thinking, what have we done and how are we going to pay for this? And we had no money to build. Week by week by week by week, your money came through to help build this building that we finished at the end of 2022. So big thank you for helping us make this building happen. Now, why did we build that building? That building requires the technologies to help enhance our broadcasting, to help us create more programming, to broadcast the signal in a better quality, and many, many other functions. So I'm going to give you a quick, just short tour of what we did on the inside of this building, from this studio space that can seat people, equipment, studios, number of studios being built to produce a variety of programs, different stages, more equipment. You see that studio, one just like it. There are 2 of those studios. Another studio across the hallway from this place that also can be sustained by just fewer volunteers to operate. More equipment, more furniture, more technologies keeps rolling in as your gifts was given to baby, as the wise men gifts went to baby Jesus. Your gifts through 2023 helped us furnish this place. It was empty after we were done. It was supposed to cost us $5 million. We built this building for $1.1 million. It went against all industry numbers and scenarios. Several real estate people, construction contractors, estimated $250 a square foot to build this. We did it for under $60 a square foot. And that's what God does. He blesses his people and help to multiply the fewer things to many things, because it is used for his glory, for his people to carry the message of Jesus Christ into the world. So this whole ministry, as you see all these technologies behind us, furnished by you folks. We built the building for $1.1 million. By the time we were done, Pastor Miguel, we didn't owe a penny to anyone. And it was all by donations coming week by week by week. Every week we told the workers, we don't know if we're going to hire you next week. We tell them that on Friday, and then Sunday, I call them up and say, come on, let's work this week. We think some money coming in, and we continue to build this building. And likewise with the equipment. We ended up with 22,000 square feet. We were asking ourselves, wow, how are we going to furnish this place? And God furnished it through your gentle hearts and humble spirits, as Jesus described himself. Now, and the graphs you see behind me, there's 2 parts of this operation, the technical operation and the business operation. And the technical, you see where the dollar's going to keep the Roku in the industry receiving our signals, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, mobile devices, Spectrum, satellite, and so on. That costs $847,000 a year, and your money being divided up anywhere between these columns to help pay those bills, and you helped us do that for the last 28 years. You look at the numbers and says, and you may think, who can pay for that? Well, it's your donations. It's the dollars and the 5 and the 10 and the hundreds and the thousands. It adds up every year to meet our needs. The second part of the operation is the business operation, the gas, the utilities, the maintenance, insurance, equipment repair, replacements, landscape, cleaning, rental, security. It all adds up to another $673,000. How did I come up with these numbers? Those were based on 2022 figures. Summary, the technical operation cost $847,000. The business operations, 673, it's combined $1.5 million a year that we've been able to run this ministry for the last 10 years without increasing our budget. During that time, we have added more channels. We grew from 2 channels to what, Daryl? 9 channels.
9 channels now.
9 channels. While we were building this building, while we all had full-time jobs working somewhere else to support our families, we were able to finish the building, you were able to furnish it, and we were able to add more channels. Look what God is doing here. If this isn't His glory, Sheila, I don't know what else it would be. It's not my doing, it's God's doing. The blessings He keeps pouring on this ministry. Where our sister organization in Loma Linda every week help us to broadcast their church service through us to the world. Where Pastor Randy Roberts and Pastor Miguel, you see them every Sabbath. That's a whole separate operation. And they need your support as we need your support. Mile and a half away from them here in Bryn Mawr, where we are, we're an independent ministry. But what a great relationships we have, Pastor, between our 2 organizations. Basically, we're 2 separate organizations, 1 gospel.
It's been a very, very productive marriage, Ganem, for at least as long as I've been here. We love our LLBN partners.
Well, and we love you guys as a partner. But at the end of the day, they have their expenses, and we have our expenses. So we want you to be kind to both of our ministries. Now, the LLBN is a 24/7 operation, and we need your help to keep it on the air. You're 28, and if there's any extras, it'll go toward 29, because all these good folks sitting on the stage are volunteers like me, along with everyone else in this facility. So moving on, I want to share with you some, here's actually a verse, really, it just lifted up my heart. In Matthew 16:19, it says, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you lose on earth shall be lost in heaven. Jesus given that promise to the disciples when He was talking to them. We are God's children, and God is commissioning us to do His work, and He is running this ministry from above through the gentle hearts of this ministry that we heard Daryl, a man who He himself, of a gentle heart and a humble spirit, Christ-like, while he was broken, that he described in his darkest moments, he was a man of gentle heart and a humble spirit. And that's what makes LLBN, and that's who you are, and that's why we're all together doing what we're doing to share the good word, the word of Jesus into the world. 9 channels, 1 gospel. Not one channel contradicts the other. We are focused on God's biblical teachings. And then to help us, how we help us, if you haven't helped us before, please send your donations directly to LLBN, or it may not be received, because if you don't tag it properly, it will not be identified as for LLBN. So the best way to send it to LLBN on the address you see on the screen probably throughout the week, or of course the credit cards. You go to our website and you can make a one-time donation, or you can call our toll-free number. And I hope our directors sometime today, they can put that information there on the screen. Although there's, I know, another layer on the bottom of the screen that shows that information, but we'll double it up. So there's no excuse to miss making a gift to this ministry. Just remember, you are like the wise men. Every gift came to this place. It's really for Jesus, because we're using all that money for His glory. May Jesus bless you richly, and bless our young pastor and all of the pastors who comes in here to praise God's name at LLBN. Marlon?
No, thank you, Ganem. And now, back to our music ministry. Here's Sheila to introduce our special guest.
Well, we get to hear once again from Raylan Bobb, and she's going to be singing a very wonderful music from that we all love, "Oh Holy Night." Mm-hmm.
is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error binding, till He appeared and the soul felt His word. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees. Oh, hear the angel voices. Oh, night divine. Oh, night when Christ was born. Oh, night divine. Oh, night divine. Truly He taught us to love one another. His law is love, and His gospel is peace. Chains He shall break, for the slave is our brother, and in His name all oppression will cease. Sweet hymns of joy, the grateful chorus raise we with all our hearts. We praise His holy name. Christ is the Lord, and every
What a precious child of God. Thank you, Raylan. Well, we have had a really good program, I thought. Daryl, I want to thank you for your heartfelt testimony, your LLBN testimony. And I want to thank you for supporting this ministry. I mean, this is the time. There is not much time left. Year 2, 10, not very much time. Put your support into ministries that will help get people ready for Jesus soon coming. Again, I want to thank you for your explanation of where the money goes. Pastor Miguel?
Always a privilege.
Just about 30 seconds. What would your final message to our audience be tonight?
There are so many things that are pulling for our finances at this time. I just would invite people to consider those things that have eternal implications, this ministry being one of them.
Amen. Thank you. Daryl, what was your final take?
I would say that there are a lot of people around this world who, if they could, would thank you for your part in bringing peace and salvation to their hearts. I want to say that for them. Thank you.
Your message in 20 seconds.
Thank you so much for helping bring light into the darkness, lighting lives, blessing nations.
Adam, last word.
Well, I thank all my co-volunteers in this ministry and all of you donors out there who you made gifts from your heart to give this ministry to share the good news of Jesus into the world because you care, you love to see others like you to be in God's kingdom. And we're so grateful for partnering with us to make it possible for us to reach the masses around the world with the word of Jesus.
Greatest story ever told each week here on Christian Connections to the end of the year.